Are game delays ever a bad thing? Also, could somebody tell Volt Supreme what games are being delayed? Let's talk about it. What's up, human beings? Welcome back to another Midweek Speak here on the Games and Groceries channel, where I ask you guys, yes you, on social media, both on Twitter, @GamingGroceries, and on Instagram, Games and Groceries, all one word. I will ask you a question each and every week, and I want to bring you into the discussion here on this Midweek Speak, because we speak on a topic in the middle of the week. Genius, I know. But this week, we want to give the discussion, are game delays ever a bad thing? And this discussion really comes up because in the past few years, I would say 2 to 3 years, a lot of buggy games have come out, a lot of rushed games have come out, and it becomes an epidemic. Especially in the past year, with games like Fallout 76, Anthem, WWE 2K20, Buggy Mess. But with all these games coming out super rushed, one has to think, was there ever a time for a game delay? Is there a time for game delays? And Ubisoft had the answer, which is to delay a whole assortment of games, including Gods and Monsters and Watch Dogs Legions. And this all came from response to poor reception to Ghost Recon Breakpoint. And Ubisoft just said, you know what? Maybe we should delay a bunch of games.
And in my opinion, I think Ubisoft delaying the games is probably good and in their best interest, because as we've seen, like Adam said, we've had such buggy mess of games lately. And we've said before on the podcast and probably in videos like this, where we said it's always better to delay a game and give a well-finished product than release a buggy mess, get bad rep for it, and then have to go back and add a patch anyway. Even day one patches, I think, are the wrong thing to do.
And I think a lot of game companies try to rush out the games because we do live in a different generation of video games where there's just a flood of games coming into the market, a flood of indie games and AAA titles and sports games. It's just a ridiculous amount of games coming out in this generation, and I don't blame people for rushing out a game. So I would say the one bad decision about delaying a game is to not beating your competition to the punch, not beating them to the punch. And I can see where that comes in, especially when you have a bunch of financial backers. However, it doesn't do well for the players. It doesn't do well for the consumers. It's always this battle of just saying that I respect my stockholders than I do my actual player base. In fact, I still remember an IGN review with Todd Howard where he was saying that we knew it was going to be a buggy mess. Talking about Fallout 76, we knew it was going to be buggy. We knew it would need some work, but we just put it out anyway. It just comes to show you that they know it's a buggy mess, but they have to meet certain quarterly demands. So I would say that's the one bad thing of delaying a game.
My opinion, when you mention the pleasing stockholders over the customers, is that if they really wanted to please stockholders, they would delay a game. Because, I know stockholders wouldn't see that, but if they explain to them, say, hey, if we delay it, we make it perfect, more people will buy it because we won't get so many bad reviews, and more people will buy it. So I think it's on that balance scale. If you can convince stockholders that this is a good choice, and if you show statistics that back it up, I still always think that it's better to delay.
And the one quote I keep thinking about when we talk about the certain topic about delaying games and should you delay games is, of course, from Shigeru Miyamoto, where he famously said, a delayed game is eventually good, but a rushed game is forever bad. And I think that quote speaks in numbers to game developers that, yes, it is tempting to make sure your quarterly numbers look okay, that your stockholders are doing just fine with their pockets filled. But he needs to understand that Miyamoto is encouraging you, saying that a rush game is always going to be bad. Especially like Fallout 76, especially like Anthem, which is completely decimated. There's no way that game is ever going to come back because it was probably the pinnacle description. If you look at the definition of rushed, you'll see a picture of Anthem onto it. And now it's forever going to be a bad game.
Yeah, and just like you said, when I read that quote, I automatically think of 76 because no matter what they do, no matter what patches they put out, no matter how good they try and make it, how much better they try and make it, everyone will remember how bad it was, and it's going to be so much harder to give them that second chance.
Exactly. No, dead on. So then we asked you, the listeners, the audience, on social media, and we want to ask you, is delaying a game ever a bad thing? And we have a couple different answers here. One being from Andrew Orsi saying, nope. Hard and fast for me. As consumers, we become increasingly impatient and too many games have come out rushed and glitchy and try to please a demanding fan base. That's another one right there. I would always prefer to wait longer in order to have a functional game. And I agree wholeheartedly with Andrew Orsi here, who is of Good Game, Great Game. Definitely check that out. But yeah, I love how he says a demanding fan base. Not just demanding stockholders, but the fan base just saying, I want this. I can't wait anymore. You need to give it to me now.
Yeah.
It's Christmas today, man.
Yeah, and I think that you see that a lot when people, or when developers say that they're delaying a game. You see all the people saying, why can't we have it now? Like, all they do is think of that they're not getting the game now, and not realizing the fact that them delaying the game is going to give them a better game in the end.
Exactly.
And yes, it can be disappointing when you've been waiting and waiting for a game to come out. Like The Last of Us 2.
Yeah.
We're all so excited about it to come out, and now we have to wait even longer for it.
Yeah.
And so I can see where people would say, complain and say that's bad, but if you really think about it, it's so much better in the long run if they are delaying a game, because that means that they believe in it enough to make it better for you. Our second answer comes from @CommanderNikki, and she says, definitely no. And I hope that with a pushback release date, the pressure on the devs become less. It could also help to have a fully playable game that doesn't need a day one patch right when you put in the disc. I can't think of any reason why it would be a bad thing. And like we said, we completely agree with that. I even mentioned that just a couple minutes ago, that it's better to have a delayed game and avoid the day one patch, because that should not be a necessary thing.
And I like how she mentions day one patches, and yeah, those are annoying enough. And yeah, you can argue from game developers that games are just so much bigger now, and just to expect game developers to actually finish that massive game on that dime period where you get that little bit of a delay. It's like almost like a mini delay where you get a day one patch. Sure, yes, games are bigger, but they're just so unnecessary sometimes. I still remember when I put in the disc for Fallout 76, and I think the day one patch was like 5 or 7 gigabytes. It was massive. But yeah, just to push it back, just to make sure that it is complete. I very much agree with that.
Yeah, and if we all, like, you're saying that the defense for that is, well, the games are so big these days,
Yeah.
But if you know the games are big these days, and you know the game you're making is big, then have a later release date. Make sure you have the time to finish it.
Yeah.
If you know that games are longer these days, you know that that's the process, why don't you just make the delays later? Don't say we're going to release it in October so that you can push it back to December so that you can have a day one patch. Just push it back to February.
Exactly.
Have the original release date in February.
And finally, we have our answer from @theQMac, who is Quentin from, he does a baseball podcast called The Greatest Show on Dirt. Funniest baseball podcast you'll ever hear. Guaranteed. This is the Games and Groceries guarantee right here. Definitely check it out if you like baseball. But Quentin says, no way. The delays, along with the rumor, which I believe to be true, of companies holding back inventory to build hype is a great thing. Not only from a marketing and sales perspective, but to get the juices flowing and wanting that game so bad. In a world where we get everything now, I love the wait and anticipation. All the way back to Super Mario for the NES and going to every store for Christmas, looking for that damn game. It all turns into nostalgia and great fun experience. And yeah, he's right that we get everything now, especially we're in a streaming service now. Like, we get Netflix and we get those movies now. We get YouTube and you get those videos now. Everything is like right there and just so on demand that there's no anticipation, there's no joy, there's no waiting. It's all just there for you, where he's just saying that build up a little anticipation, like stop holding back. Like make sure that you have a great game and get people hyped for that, so that, maybe we can actually enjoy our games now.
And he actually pointed out something that I hadn't thought of before. Another positive of delaying games is just to build up that hype for a game. Mm-hmm. That they might have the game done, but they want the news to be talking about it, and they want people to be thinking about it and wondering what else are they adding that's going to make it so great that needs a delay. Yeah. So definitely from a marketing standpoint, I never thought of that, but that is also another good thing.
Yeah, I still remember when Bethesda, when they were still good. They're still okay. I still like Bethesda. Mwah. Hi, Bethesda. But I still remember they did not market a game until it was ready for release, and they put out marketing a few months in advance, and it was just I remember Fallout 4 when that was just hyped up. I want to say 7 months in advance. It was very, very early, and it was just waiting until the game was ready. It was still buggy, it still needed patches, but at least it was a finished product. So we want to hear from you guys. Before we go into our conclusion, write down in the comments down below, what are your thoughts? Are game delays ever a bad thing? Ever. We want to hear from you, so please put a comment down below. And if you're enjoying this episode so far, enjoying this midweek speak, give it a like, give it a share. Definitely put somebody else in the discussion, have them comment, because we want to hear from all of you. So comment right now. To conclude our thoughts, I want to defend game developers because they are under a pickle right here. They do have, some of them are publicly owned companies, so to delay a game is taking away from profits, and that might lose a job. So that's the only bad thing for a delay. But on a consumer standpoint, from making your money back for your shareholders, I think delaying a game is almost never a bad thing.
I agree. I don't see any bad points in delaying a game, and I've said it before, it makes more sense to me than getting a game that is buggy and unreliable. I have zero patience when it comes to technology being slow and glitchy. You can ask Adam.
Yeah.
So getting a game that is actually finished and ready for release is always better, in my opinion.
And I like what Andrew Orsi said, that there's all these demanding fan bases too, like saying I want the game now, and there's pressures from that. Let's just let game developers just do their thing. We already have enough games coming out already that I can't keep up with. 2020 is going to be a nightmare for me, but I like when games are delayed because then it just kind of gives my wallet a little bit of a break. But let's just give our developers, a little bit more breathing room, and let's just realize that we have plenty of games to play so far. I want to play some backlogged GameCube games that I have. I want to go in the past for a little bit, so maybe delaying game is not too bad for me. Anyway, personally, please stop flooding me with games. I'm crying. I cry myself to sleep.
Thank you for joining us for this midweek speak. Don't forget to comment below with your answers if you ever think a delay for a game is bad. Don't forget to like and share this video so that other people can see it. And don't forget to subscribe and ring the bell so that you can see more videos like this, our podcast videos, our Let's Plays, and so that you get notified when they all come out. So thank you for joining us, and we will see you next time.
Later.
Bye.